The letter looked like every other piece of junk mail that's been haunting my mailbox since my dad died. White envelope, stiff paper, too many legal words, my full name typed like I'd done something wrong. I'm the kind of person who opens mail immediately. I pay bills the day they arrive. I keep spreadsheets. I thought grief would make me sloppy, but it did the opposite. If I could control anything, it would be the paperwork. So I slit the envelope cleanly and read, Notice of Inheritance Interest. Unit 3B, Harbor Palms Condominium. I reread it twice, waiting for my brain to correct it. My dad didn't own an apartment. He was a retired USPS guy who complained about property taxes like they were a personal insult. He lived in the same ranch house in Ohio for 30 years and treated the idea of condos like it was something Europeans did. My first thought was scam. My second thought, quieter, uglier, was, what else don't I know? I set the letter on the kitchen counter like it might stain. My husband, Mark, glanced over from the sink. More estate stuff? Apparently I inherited an apartment in Florida. I said Florida like it was a disease. Mark dried his hands slowly. Your dad had a place in Florida? No, I said too fast. He didn't, but the letter had a unit number, a condo association name, probate case number, and a sentence that made my stomach go cold. Failure to respond may result in lien enforcement and collection actions. My dad died in April. Heart attack while mowing. The kind of death that feels almost rude because it's so ordinary. He didn't leave much: house, a truck, some tools, a modest life insurance policy. The will named me executor because I'm the organized one. My younger brother, Kyle, called it being the family accountant. Like it was an insult and not a role I'd been forced into since I was 16. Mom was mom. She cried in bursts, then got oddly practical about who got what furniture. She kept saying, your father wouldn't want this to be messy, while actively making it messy. Still, everything had been straightforward. Sell the truck, close accounts, pay the funeral home, split what was left. Tight but manageable. Mark and I weren't exactly flush. We'd been doing the adult thing. Mortgage, car payment, a kid in braces, and the kind of emergency fund that disappears every time the water heater hiccups. So when I saw the word inheritance, some small, shameful part of me lit up. Not because I wanted my dad to die for money, just because, if you're honest, money is a kind of relief. There's permission to breathe. Then I read lien enforcement and that relief curdled into something else. I called the number on the letter. A woman answered with a voice like she'd been saying the same sentence all day. Harbor Palms Condominium Association. Collections Department. Collections. I gave her my name and the case number. There was a keyboard clatter, a pause. Oh, yes. Unit 3B. We've been trying to locate the owner's estate. You're listed as successor. I think there's a mistake, I said. My father didn't own a condo. She didn't even laugh. Ma'am, the deed says otherwise. Then she said the number. Total outstanding balance, $28,417.92. I sat down hard at my kitchen table, like my legs had decided without consulting me. $28,000 for what? I asked. Past due HOA fees, late penalties, special assessment from hurricane damage repairs, and attorney costs. She said it like she was reading ingredients off a cereal box. I must have made a sound because she softened a fraction. We're not trying to be difficult. We need a point of contact for the estate. I don't. My mouth was dry. Can you tell me? Who is on the deed? She spelled it out, my dad's full legal name. Then, after a beat, she added, and another name. My name. I laughed. Came out wrong, short, sharp. That's impossible. Ma'am, I'm looking at the record. Joint tenancy. Right of survivorship. I stared at my hands. They looked like my hands. The same ring. Same chipped nail polish. But suddenly they felt like evidence. Mark had been hovering in the doorway, pretending not to listen. Now he stepped closer. What is it? He asked, careful. They're saying, I swallowed. They're saying my name is on the deed. Like I owned it with him. Mark's eyebrows lifted. Did you sign something? No, I said it like a fact. I would remember signing for a condo in Florida. But the woman wasn't done. There's also an outstanding property tax lien, she added, like she was remembering to mention a parking ticket. County will pursue. You'll want to speak to your attorney. My brain did a quick inventory of my savings account. It was not designed to absorb Florida condo surprise debt. After I hung up, Mark didn't speak right away. He sat across from me, hands folded. Could your dad have done it without telling you? He asked. My dad barely bought a grill without telling my mom, I said. Then quieter. Unless he didn't tell her. That was the first moment the story shifted in my head. From scam to secret, I pulled Dad's old file box out of the hall closet. The one with the green lid that still smelled faintly like sawdust and his aftershave. Inside, tax returns, insurance papers, the will. Everything neat. Everything labeled in his blocky handwriting. And then, tucked between a W-2 and a home warranty pamphlet, a thin folder labeled HP3B. I felt my pulse in my throat. The folder contained a copy of a deed. The condo was real. My dad's name and my name, typed cleanly. Dated 8 years ago. There was also a mortgage statement, last payment made over a year ago. A handwritten note on yellow paper. Don't tell your mother. For when things get bad. My stomach rolled. Things get bad. Like medical bills bad? Like Kyle relapsing bad? Like Dad knew something was coming and tried to stash money somewhere? I called my mom and tried to keep my voice normal. Did Dad ever mention a condo in Florida? Silence. A long, loaded silence. No, she said finally. Too flat. Too fast. Mom, I said. My name is on the deed. Another pause. I could hear a TV in the background. The sound of some game show audience clapping, like mocking applause. That's not possible, she said. You didn't. I didn't sign anything. I cut in. Her voice went thin. Then don't get involved. Let the lawyers handle it. That was the first time my comm started to crack. Because my mother doesn't say don't get involved unless she's already involved. After I hung up, I found one more thing in the folder. A printout of a bank account I'd never seen. My name on it. Dad's name on it. And a balance from 2 years ago. $61,903. 14. I made an appointment with the probate attorney handling Dad's estate. A guy named Stuart who wore cufflinks like he wanted people to notice them. He flipped through the folder, expression neutral in that lawyer way that's supposed to make you feel safe but just makes you feel like you're on trial. This is unusual, he said, but not unheard of. Please explain like I'm not stupid, I said, sharper than I meant. He pushed his glasses up. If your name is legitimately on that deed, you may have acquired full ownership the moment your father passed, which means you also inherited associated liabilities. So I inherited debt, I said. Great. It might still be an asset, he offered. Florida property values. There's a lien and a past due mortgage and taxes, I snapped. And I don't even know why it exists. Stuart leaned back. We should confirm the deed is valid. If you didn't sign, I didn't. Then we may be looking at fraud, he said carefully. But proving that can be complicated. Mark, sitting beside me, cleared his throat. What happens if we just walk away? Stuart didn't flinch. If your name is on title, they can pursue you. They can sue. They can foreclose. It will follow your credit. My credit. The thing I'd guarded like it was a moral score. I felt heat behind my eyes and forced it down. I'd built my entire identity on being the responsible one. The one who didn't miss payments. The one who didn't get surprised by life. And now, on paper, I was a co-owner of a condo I'd never seen, with tens of thousands in debt. Stuart slid a business card across the desk. I suggest you request a full title report and mortgage history. And, I'm sorry. I left his office with the folder clutched in my hands like it was radioactive. In the parking lot, Mark touched my elbow. We'll figure it out. I nodded like I believed him, but my thoughts were already racing ahead, doing math I didn't want to do. I decided I needed to see it. Not because I wanted a beach getaway, but because my brain wouldn't accept it as real until I stood in front of it. I booked a cheap flight to Fort Myers and a motel that smelled like bleach and defeat. Mark stayed home with our kid because someone had to act like life was normal. On the drive to Harbor Palms, palms lined the road like a postcard. The sun was too bright. Everything felt like it was daring me to believe in vacations. The condo complex was beige stucco and chipped paint. Not fancy, not a secret millionaire hideout, just a place. Unit 3B was on the second floor. I climbed the stairs, heart pounding, and knocked. A woman opened the door halfway. Mid-50s, careful eyes, wearing a faded t-shirt and holding the chain lock like it was a weapon. "Yes," she said. I'm sorry," I stammered. "My name is, I think I own this unit now. My father passed away." Her face didn't change, but something behind her eyes did, like a curtain pulled back. "Oh," she said softly. "So he finally did it." "Did what?" She looked me up and down. "You're her daughter." "My dad's daughter," I corrected automatically. "No," she said, and her voice had a strange, almost pitying edge. "You're the daughter." I felt my scalp prickle. "Who are you?" She unclipped the chain and opened the door wider. "Come in," she said. "Because if you're here, it means the money ran out." The living room smelled like old coffee and lavender cleaner. There were framed photos on the wall, and in one of them, my dad, tan and smiling, his arm around this woman like it belonged there. Part 7. Her name was Denise. She offered me water in a chipped glass and watched me like I might bolt. I didn't know my dad had. I waved vaguely at the apartment, at her, at the pictures. "Any of this." Denise snorted. "He liked to keep compartments." I swallowed. Were you together?" "Not like that," she said quickly. "Not exactly. I was his cousin on paper. That's what he called me. Cousin Denise." "That's not a thing," I said. She leaned forward. "He needed someone local to handle repairs and other things. He paid me a monthly amount. It started as help, then it became dependence." I stared at her. "Why would he put my name on the deed?" Denise's mouth tightened. "Because you're the responsible one. He said if anything happened, you'd take care of it. He said you'd be angry, but you'd do it." It hit me like a slap. My dad had counted on my personality, like it was a bank account. Denise got up and pulled out a manila envelope from a drawer. She slid it to me. Inside were copies of checks, rent receipts, and a ledger in my dad's handwriting. Every month, for years, money flowed from that unknown joint account to Denise. Sometimes $500, sometimes $2,000, sometimes more, with notes like Kyle and hospital and don't tell. My throat went tight. "Kyle, my brother?" Denise nodded. "Your father was paying for something. He said it was to keep your mother from panicking. He said you couldn't know because you'd try to stop him." I sat there, staring at the word Kyle written by my dead dad, and felt something inside me tilt. Because Kyle had always insisted he was fine. He'd always acted like his life was messy but under control. And Dad had always covered it, quietly, with money he hid in a Florida condo. Denise pointed at one last paper. "This is why you're here," she said. It was a notice from the bank. The joint account had been drained last year. 0 balance. And the last withdrawal? Cashier's check. Made out to my mother. Part 8. I left Harbor Palms feeling like I'd been walking through someone else's life. Back in the motel, I called Kyle. He answered on the third ring, voice lazy like he'd been asleep. "Hey sis, did Dad ever pay for your stuff?" I asked, trying to keep it vague. Kyle sighed. "What is this, an intervention? Just answer." Silence, then a laugh that wasn't funny. "He helped sometimes." "How much? Why?" Kyle's voice sharpened. "What happened?" "There's a condo," I said, "in Florida, in my name, and it's in debt, and I have receipts with your name on them." Kyle went quiet. Then he said, "Mom told me you'd find out eventually." My blood went cold. "Mom knew. She didn't want you involved," Kyle said quickly. She said you'd freak out and make it all legal and messy. It's already legal and messy, I hissed. Kyle, did you take money from Dad? From this account? I needed help, he snapped. You don't know what it's like. I know what it's like to pay bills, I shot back. I know what it's like to go without things because you want your kid to have health insurance. Kyle's breathing got heavy. Dad offered. He said it was his job. And Mom? I asked. Why did she take the last of it? Kyle's voice dropped. Because Dad was getting sick, and Mom was scared. And she said it was her money anyway. Her money. Like my dad's hidden account was a marital savings plan. I hung up shaking. Then I did the thing I never do. I checked my credit report at midnight. And there it was. A home equity line of credit. Opened 8 years ago. Secured by Harbor Palms Unit 3B. Borrower me. Balance. $43,800. I barely slept. My brain kept replaying moments from the last decade. Dad asking for my social security number for a form. Mom sitting beside me at the kitchen table while I signed something for insurance. Kyle joking that I should just take over the family finances already. All those little harmless requests suddenly looked like claws. The next morning I called my mom and didn't bother with pleasantries. Did you use my identity to buy a condo? I said. She gasped like I'd slapped her through the phone. How dare you? Did you open credit in my name? I pressed. Because there's a line of credit, Mom. In my name. Her voice became brittle. Your father did what he had to do. That's not an answer. She exhaled hard. We were drowning, she said. Do you understand that? Drowning. Your father's blood pressure meds. Kyle's episodes, the hospital. We didn't want you to worry. So you put me on the hook for $43,000. It was supposed to be paid back, she snapped. And it would have been if your father hadn't died. She didn't say it, but it was there. I found my voice again. Quieter. Mom, you took the last of the money. Because I needed it, she said. And there was something raw in that. Because the house was almost behind. Because the credit cards were maxed. Because I wasn't going to lose everything after a lifetime with that man. A lifetime with that man. Like the condo was part of their marriage. Not a secret he wrote don't tell on. I sat on my bed and stared at the floral motel bedspread like it could explain family loyalty. So what now? I asked. Mom's voice softened, like she was switching back into the role of mother. Now you sell it, she said. It's Florida. It'll sell. You pay the debts. You keep the rest. Consider it your inheritance. My inheritance. I almost laughed. Almost. Because I could hear, under her calm logic, something else. Relief that I was now the one responsible. I flew home with my jaw clenched so hard my teeth ached. Mark met me at the airport. He kissed my cheek and asked, How bad? Bad, I said. Worse than bad. At home, I laid everything out on the dining room table. Letters, statements, receipts, the credit report printout. It looked like a crime scene made of paper. Mark read quietly, his expression shifting from concern to disbelief to anger. They put a loan in your name, he said finally. That's criminal. I know, I whispered. He drummed his fingers. We should call the police. I flinched, not because I thought he was wrong, but because something in me still wanted to protect them. My mother, my dad's memory, even Kyle. I hated that reflex. It felt like weakness, but it was also love, tangled and stupid. I don't want to blow up the whole family, I said. Mark stared at me. They already did. That night, I confronted Mom in person. I drove to her house, walked in without knocking like I still had that right, and put the deed on her coffee table. She looked older than I remembered. Smaller. Her hands shook as she picked it up. I didn't want this for you, she said. But you did it anyway. Tears filled her eyes. Your father made me promise, she whispered. He said you'd handle it better than Kyle. He said you were strong. Strong. The compliment that always came with a price tag. I felt something crack. Anger, grief, humiliation, all mixed. I'm not strong, I said. I'm just the one you all lean on. Mom wiped her face. "If you sell it, you'll still come out ahead," she said quickly, like she was throwing me a life preserver made of cash. "Property values went up. This will fix everything." And here was the ugliest twist of all. Part of me wanted to believe her, because I wanted a clean solution. I wanted money to make sense of the mess. Part 11. I listed the condo. It felt absurd, sitting at my laptop in Ohio writing a description for an apartment I'd only stepped into once. Coastal community, minutes from the beach, great investment opportunity. Investment opportunity. Like my life hadn't just been turned into one. The realtor told me we could price it aggressively. "Even with HOA issues, there's demand," she said. "Investors love these." I called the HOA's attorney and negotiated a payoff amount. I called the county tax office. I called the bank holding the line of credit and fought my way through hold music to someone who spoke in scripts. Mark sat beside me during the calls, occasionally squeezing my knee under the table when my voice started to shake. Kyle texted, "Just sell it. Don't be dramatic." Mom called daily, suddenly sweet. "Eat something," she'd say. "Get some sleep," like she was trying to mother me back into compliance. Denise in Florida cooperated, letting inspectors in, keeping the place presentable. "Your dad would want it handled," she said. I couldn't tell if it was comfort or manipulation. 2 weeks later, we got an offer. It was higher than I expected. For the first time in months, I felt something like hope. Real numbers on a screen that could erase the debt, stop the letters, stop the phone calls. I remember telling Mark, "This is it. We pay everything and then we're done. We're free." He kissed my forehead. "We're free," he echoed. That night I slept 8 straight hours. Felt like a miracle. That was my false resolution. The moment I believed money could wrap everything up neatly like a bow. The sale closed on a Tuesday. I sat in Stuart's office while he slid documents toward me. My signature felt heavy, like each pen stroke carried 8 years of lies. When it was over, Stuart showed me the settlement breakdown. Sale price, healthy. Payoffs, brutal. HOA lien, taxes, bank loan, realtor fees, attorney fees. But at the bottom was a number that made my breath catch. Net proceeds to me, $18,642. 11. It wasn't life-changing money. It wasn't even new car money. But it was proof I could survive the hit. I walked out into the crisp air feeling lighter than I had in a long time. Mark called me on speaker. "So, we're in the clear," I said. "It's done." That night, I transferred the money into our savings. I stared at the balance like it was a finish line. I blocked the HOA's number. I ignored Kyle's texts. I told myself my dad had been flawed, my mom desperate, my brother messy, but we'd get through it. I even felt a flicker of pride. I had handled it. I had controlled the chaos. Then, 2 days later, another letter arrived. This one wasn't from Florida. It was from a private lender in our own town, and it was addressed to Mark. Notice of default, collateral assignment, expected inheritance proceeds. I stood at the counter holding the letter while the kettle screamed behind me. When Mark walked in, I didn't speak at first. I just handed it to him. He read it, and his face went pale in a way I'd never seen. "What is this?" I asked, voice low. Mark swallowed. "It's nothing. It's a mistake. It says you used my inheritance as collateral," I said. "It says you defaulted." His eyes flicked up to mine. The guilty look was quick, but it was there. I felt my body go cold. "Mark." He exhaled, long and shaky, like he'd been holding his breath for months. "I was going to fix it," he said. My ears rang. "Fix what?" He sat down slowly, elbows on the table. "After your dad died, we were behind," he said. "The braces, the car repair, my hours got cut. We talked about the budget," I said, stunned. "We cut back. We were fine." "We were barely fine," he snapped, then caught himself. I panicked. And then the condo letter came, and he gestured helplessly. "I thought, if there's an inheritance coming, we could borrow short-term, just until the sale. I didn't want to stress you out." My throat tightened. So you stressed me out later, with a default notice. It wasn't supposed to default, he said quickly. I was making payments. Then I missed one. Then another. Then, how much? I asked. Mark's eyes slid away. 10,000. I did the math without thinking. 10,000 out of 18. More than half of what I'd clawed back. And you didn't tell me, I said, and my voice was eerily calm. Mark's face crumpled. I was trying to protect us. Protect us. The same word my mom used. The same excuse my dad scribbled in a folder. Protection that always looked like secrecy and debt. I stared at my husband, this man I'd built my stable life around, and realized I had married a version of my family. Different packaging, same pattern. And then he said the sentence that finished the job. I took out a second loan, because I thought the condo would net more. The kettle clicked off. Silence rushed in. How much? I whispered. Mark's voice broke. 15. 15 plus 10. $25,000. More than I'd ever seen from the condo at all. He hadn't borrowed against my inheritance. He'd borrowed against a fantasy. And now that fantasy was gone. Part 14. The next week was a blur of phone calls and humiliation. The lender didn't care about my family drama. They cared about contracts Mark had signed. He'd put the expected inheritance proceeds as collateral, and now they wanted payment in full. I pulled statements and found what Mark had hidden. Cash withdrawals, online transfers, a few weird charges that screamed, trying to win it back. When I confronted him with the details, he didn't deny it. He just stared at his hands like they belonged to someone else. I thought I could flip it, he whispered. I thought if I just got ahead once, we'd be okay. Get ahead once. Like that's how money works when you're desperate. I called my mom, shaking with rage and shame, and told her what happened. There was a long pause. Then she said, softly, "See, this is why your father didn't want you involved." I actually laughed then, a real bitter laugh. "No," I said, "this is why you made me like this. This is why I married someone who thinks lying is love." Mom started crying, but I couldn't comfort her anymore. Comfort felt like agreement. Kyle texted, "Not my problem," then asked if Mom could borrow money for his rent. Denise called from Florida. "The unit is gone," she said. "So, we're done." I wanted to tell her yes. I wanted to believe closing the sale meant closing the story. But the truth was, the condo wasn't the end. It was the spark. The letter had opened a trapdoor under my entire life. The final hit came when Stuart called. "There's an additional claim," he said carefully. "Medicaid estate recovery. Your father received benefits the last 2 years. The state is asserting the condo proceeds should have been considered, and they want reimbursement." I sat down on my living room floor. "How much?" I asked, voice flat. He gave me the number. It was more than what I had left in savings. More than what Mark could borrow. More than what my mom pretended she didn't have. Money again turning the screw. I used to believe responsibility was a shield. If I did everything right, paid on time, saved, planned, stayed calm, life would stay reasonable. Now I know responsibility can be a target. My dad put my name on a deed because he trusted my guilt to do the work. My mom took the last of the hidden money because she believed survival entitled her to anything. My brother floated through disasters because he knew someone would catch him. And Mark watched me juggle the mess and decided it meant I could juggle his too. When you're the stable one, people don't ask permission. They just lean harder. I paid the private lender by draining our savings and taking a loan in my name. Ironic, right? Because I refused to let Mark's default wreck our kid's life. Mark moved into the guest room. The word divorce sat between us like a glass on the table, waiting to be knocked over. Mom stopped calling as often once she realized I wasn't going to fix things quietly. Kyle stopped calling when I stopped sending money. The Medicaid claim is still in process. Stuart says we can negotiate, maybe reduce it, maybe stretch it out. I'll do what I always do. Paperwork, phone calls, payment plans. I'll make the numbers behave. But something in me is different now. When the condo letter arrived, I thought the twist would be about my father. A secret apartment, a hidden life. It was, in a way. But the bigger secret was me. I wasn't in control. I was just compliant. I mistook anxiety for competence. I called it being responsible, but it was really being trained to absorb other people's financial chaos and call it love. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that yellow note in Dad's folder. For when things get bad. Things did get bad. They got bad in the way money always gets bad. Quietly, with signatures and secrets, with people insisting they're protecting you while they pick your pockets. The condo is gone now. Unit 3B is someone else's investment opportunity. But the inheritance is still with me. Not the property. The pattern.